Hey guys, what is going on? In this video, we're going to be going through how we solved $10,000 per month agency. So specifically, how to grow your agency to $10,000 per month. Now, if you're new to this channel, we've worked with over 200 agency owners where 27% of them will hit the six-figure run rate over the past 90 to 180 days. And I've personally scaled 4 agencies myself to 6 and 7 figures. So just so you know, now this video is going to be super powerful for you if you're at 1 to 2, 3, 4, even 5 clients, but you haven't yet cracked the $10,000 per month mark. Now you're probably thinking, why does $10,000 per month matter? Now, in a way, it doesn't really matter, but from a margin standpoint and a profitability standpoint, if you are below $10,000 per month, you don't really have too much funding capacity to spend on ads. You don't really have too much funding capacity to spend on staff. And so it's very important that you do speed run as much as you can to get to the $10,000 per month mark. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck really in a glorified job. And that's where most people really stay stuck in their agency. The hardest part of growing an agency is going from 0 to 1 or even 1 to 2, because that's where so much of the effort is required. And so I'm going to break down this into really 3 to 4 segments. Now, the first segment I'm going to go through is leverage. Now, leverage is something that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about because it's a little bit of an abstract concept. So what I'm going to try and do in this video is really try and break down why leverage is so important, okay? So what is leverage? So leverage is basically the ability to do more with the resources that you have. So a really good example of leverage is if you have a rock and you've got a plank of wood on the rock, you can actually lift a heavy object on this end by pushing down on this end with a lower amount of force. Now, why does that matter? You're probably thinking, what has that got to do with agency? The fact is, if you have leverage in your agency, you'll be able to get a greater output for less effort. Now, when you're starting out, it's really a raw dogging approach because you've got to do a lot of the manual stuff yourself. You've got to do the calls. You've got to do the delivery yourself. You've got to do all the admin yourself. And big companies have entire divisions that are dedicated towards doing sales, doing fulfillment, doing operations and admin, HR, finance, everything. And so when you're starting out, it's pretty hard because you have to do everything. And so what you need to bear in mind then is if you're the one that's doing everything, you need to find ways quickly to actually get leverage in your business. So the first thing you want to do is get leverage in your business. And you're probably thinking, how do I get leverage in my business? Now, the answer to that is actually really simple. So the first thing you want to do in order to get leverage in your business, I'm going to just pull this down a little bit so you can actually read it. The first thing you want to do to get leverage in your business is develop personal effectiveness, okay? And I'll explain why. So when you think about it, the assets that you have to grow your agency when you're below $10,000 per month is really you've got your time, okay? Attention, energy, effort, and capital, okay? Now what you'll find is that when you're starting out, you have more and less of these assets. You'll have more time, okay? You'll have more attention, you'll have more energy, you'll have more effort, but you won't have as much capital, okay? So what you need to realize is in order to create leverage in your business, you need to look at which of these resources you have the most of and double down on those particular resources. So if you have a lot of time, then the way that you're going to actually grow and scale your agency to $10,000 per month is to really focus on time, putting the time in order to get the outputs that you want. Now, how does this relate to personal effectiveness? So in order to get something from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, remember, you're the person driving everything. And so really, you can't afford to be sloppy in the way that you do certain things. Sure, you can do it, right? But it's going to take you a lot longer. So if you want to get there a lot quicker, then here's a few things that you need to learn, right? Number one is you need to manage your energy and your sleep, okay? So if your sleeping patterns are all over the place, your energy is expended on things that waste time, like video games, then you're never actually going to get, you're never going to get to where you need to get to, because you're not spending your energy on the right things. So make sure that your energy expenditure is really, really key, right? So spend it on things that are going to actually drive money, okay, drive revenue. Now, what that usually comes down to is sales, okay? That's kind of the reality. So it's important that you expend your energy on things that make sense, okay? Now, the next thing in terms of personal effectiveness is your health, okay? So make sure that you're getting enough sleep, you're eating well, you're not don't get sick. Like if you get sick, I know people that are just trying to start out and they'll take 2 weeks off because they got a cold. Like you can't afford that. You've got to have the attitude of like, I will do whatever it takes to not get sick, right? And if I do get sick, I'm just going to lick it. Like I'm going to spend 24 hours, just shut down, rest, make sure that I totally eliminate the sickness, okay? So make sure that you're healthy. Now, number 3 is you want to be organized, okay? So make sure that you have a structure to your day. So if your day structure doesn't have any kind of rhyme or reason to it, then you're not going to be efficient in the way that you expend your energy. So, some really good things that you can do is do some working out in the morning, right? That sets off your energy for the rest of the day. Some things that I do is I don't eat until about 3 p.m. because I get to focus on work. Another thing is I wear basically the same thing every day. I wear this black t-shirt and pants. So all these little things add up to being really optimized in the way that you spend your time. And another thing too is like being organized is not doing everything. A lot of agency owners that are starting out are trying to build an e-com store. They're trying to do drop shipping. They're trying to do affiliate marketing. They're trying to do high ticket sales. Or they're, trying to, join a bodybuilding championship at the same time they're doing college, and then they're doing you want to have focus. So it's very important that as part of this whole thing is that you also have focus. That's really, really important. Okay, focus is key. And then really all this comes down is to having a really good schedule and then executing that schedule effectively. Okay, so the number one thing that you want to start with is ask yourself the question, do I have personal effectiveness? And if you don't have personal effectiveness, then you want to try and get that. And it really comes down to the way you spend your energy, your health, staying organized and staying focused, okay? That is personal effectiveness. And there's obviously more components to that as well. There's definitely a mindset that you need to have in order to grow. And, some of those mindsets are, patience, perseverance, finding a way to win. That's really important. Don't just give up on the first hurdle. Like you'll never make it if you just kind of give up on the first hurdle, because really good business owners have the ability to problem solve, okay? And so really by signing up to run an agency, you're signing up to run a business, and therefore you're signing up to solve problems. So you need to view problems as an opportunity. Like agency is not a thing that's like out to, like it's not just a machine that's automatically going to make you money. You need to learn how to solve problems for your clients. And if you learn how to solve the problems well, you'll be paid well for it. It's really that simple. Okay. So that's personal effectiveness in a nutshell. There's obviously more to that, but that's a pretty good kind of starting point. Okay. So the next thing is you really, really need to learn sales, and particularly phone sales. Now, I know a lot of people, with this, they struggle with it. They try and do other things to try and compensate for this. But the fact is that if you don't learn phone sales, then you don't know how to close a deal, you're going to struggle. Like, it doesn't matter. I could say this till the cows come home, but it doesn't matter whether you've got a really good AI caller. I know a lot of you guys are doing voice AI, but if you don't learn sales, then you won't close the deal. You cannot get AI to close the deal for you. And another thing that I've really noticed in this particular agency space at this current time is that people are trying to compensate their lack of sales skill with having, all these different offers. The fact is, if you are good at sales and you know how to talk to people, you know the structure of a sales call, all those types of things, you don't need all these crazy offers. You just need to, know how to run a good call. And so the first thing is, or the second thing after personal effectiveness, is really learn sales. Learn how to run a good sales call, learn how to talk to people, learn how to close the deal, right? So I would say as part of sales, you probably want to learn a few things. You want to learn how to do a cold call, okay? Now, what I'll say is if you guys want to learn how to do a cold call well, comment in the chats below cold call, comment in the comment section below cold call, and I'll send you some stuff like a free little course on how to cold call well, okay? The next thing is you need to learn how to do a intro call. Now, an intro call versus a cold call, the purposes of a cold call really is lead gen, okay? So lead generation. That's where you use the phone to get someone to put up their hand and say, I'm interested in this. And then you just cycle through those leads, okay? So cold call is actually lead generation. You're never going to close a deal on a cold call. It just doesn't work like that. So cold calling is lead generation. Now, intro call is the call that you set after the cold call. Now, the intro call is where you need to establish a need. You need to establish they have a budget to pay for your services, and you need to establish who the decision maker is, okay? So if you say, for example, have a cold call and you talk to somebody who's just the admin lady, that's fine, except then the admin lady doesn't have approval to pay for your services. So what you need to do is use the cold call to then book an intro call with the person who does have the authority to pay for your service, and that is the DM or the decision maker. So the purpose of the intro call is to establish a need, establish who the decision maker is, and establish their funding capacity. Do they have capacity to pay for your services? Really, really important. Okay, so that's kind of the structure of the intro call. And then the last piece is learn how to do a demo call. So this is a closing call. So this is where you go through what's called discovery, where you need to discover what their problems are. Then you go through the pitch, and then you go through the closing phase, okay? Now, yes, you can have a good offer. Yes, you can have all these crazy AI things that you're doing for customers, but ultimately, you really, really, really do need to know how to do this, okay? So what I'm gonna go through is I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper into sales in this video just to help you guys understand how to do this part here. So I'm going to give you some broad principles that'll help you with your sales, okay? Now, the number one thing with sales is you need to be the one asking the questions. If they're the ones asking the questions, then they're the ones in control of the conversation. So it's very important that when you're doing sales, you're the one asking the questions. Because again, if they're asking the questions, they're directing and leading the call. So whoever asks the questions is leading the call, which you want to be leading the call, okay? Now, the second thing is you need to have rapport in sales. So if you come across as a nerd, you just seem really kind of anxious and weird, or just not open, and I probably shouldn't say the word nerd because, I'm a bit of a nerd. Everyone's a bit of a nerd when it comes to it. But the most important thing with rapport is that you're open, okay? So if you're really closed off and you're really like just not open, then you're going to struggle. So as long as you have a bit of a smile, you're open, hey, how's it going? You don't need to be over the top. Actually, a big thing with rapport is you're not over the top. Then it's a lot easier to get along with people, because ultimately, if you listen to customer interactions and then you listen to how the customer talks about the interaction, they're going to say, oh, that person was really nice, right? So you want to come across as, yeah, they're a nice person, right? So rapport is actually really important. Now, the next thing is you want to be neutral in your tonality. Now, this is something not a lot of people talk about. Being neutral in your tonality is super, super critical, because if you come across as too hypey, I'm going to get you this, I'm going to get you this, then the person's going to feel like you're a little bit overbearing, okay? And really, neutrality is really coming across as you're stable and calm. So if you come across as like you've got this stable and calm energy, and you just talk, slowly, and if you close the deal, then it's good. If you don't close the deal, that's okay too. You don't want to be too attached to the sale. So another really important piece with selling is being detached from the sale, because if you're too attached to the sale, then people can feel that. People can feel if you're too attached to the sale. So be detached from the sale, and have that neutral, calm kind of energy. Now, the next thing is you need to learn how to be persistent. I'll just write that down. But the other thing is you need to have a good kind of lines to use. You got to practice using different lines. So let's say you get to the end of the call. I'm going to give you guys some really good information here. Let's say you get to the end of the call and someone says, that was great. Can you send me an email and I'll get back to you? Okay. Now, nobody likes hearing that. Everyone likes to hear, cool, this is great. I'm ready to sign up. But chances are that you're not going to hear that on most calls, because most people need more than just a pitch to, close. You actually need to learn to close, right? So if someone says, can you send me an email and I'll get back to you? This is what you want to say. Okay. And so this is where you need to learn some really good lines, specifically objection handling lines. So if someone says to me, cool, send me an email and I'll get back to you, I'll say something like this. Yeah, absolutely. No problem. I'll send that through. Can I ask though, how do you feel about everything that I've taken you through so far? So what you want to do is consider the fact that you've just spent maybe 20-30 minutes explaining your product to them, or you've spent 20-30 minutes on the call where a part of that you've explained the product to them. It's fair enough that you ask for a little bit of feedback. Hey, did that make sense? Did that seem like something that you'd be interested in doing? Do you see how this would fit in with your company right now in order to get XYZ goal? Does it make sense? Okay. And then from there, you can start to gauge their interest level. So if they say, yeah, it's pretty good, it looks good, I just need a little bit more time to think about it. You say, absolutely, no problem. I wouldn't want you to make any kind of rushed decision. Now, here's how you deal with the think about it. You say this. When you say you need to think about it, is this a matter of whether you think that this is the solution that you need, or whether this is like the right time for, whether you should do this in your company, or whether this is actually going to work from like a budget standpoint, right? So that's what I call the ABC or AB objection handling question, where you literally specify what they mean by, I need to think about it, right? Or you can use an open-ended rebuttal, which is where you say, when you say you need to think about it, what do you mean exactly? And then you can kind of go down the line of, do you feel like this would work for you, or do you feel like that this wouldn't work for you? And why do you feel that this would work for you? What that allows you to do is get them to confirm that they feel like your product or the value of your product is there. That's not the issue. They see the value in your product, And you can even double down and say 100% you feel like that this would work for you. By using the language, this is why language is really important. If you use the language 100%, that leaves no room for doubt. And if they say 100%, I feel like that this would work for me, then you could say, okay, so if you feel like 100% this would work for you, then what is it that you need to think about? Is it the budget or what's coming up for you? And then they might say, I just don't know, like whether, this is the right fit or whatever, like whatever the case may be. And then so what I'm doing here is I'm isolating, okay? So I am isolating what the actual objection is. So if I know, you can see the little screen here. If I know that the objection is not A, I can cross that out. I've dealt with that. If I know the objection is not B, then I can kind of cross that out. And if I know the objection is not C, then I can cross that out as well. And then once you go through this process of really eliminating all these different potential objections, then you can actually get to the root cause of why they're so, hesitant, okay? And so that is the process of objection handling and closing, is dealing with objections one by one and understanding what the root issue is. Because when you understand what the root issue is and why they're not closing, then you're that much closer to actually getting the deal done, because you've eliminated all the other possible, potentials, okay? And so if you study this process and you practice this process consistently and you build the skill set of learning to close, your agency will skyrocket. I'm just going to do a little drawing there. Your agency will literally skyrocket because you'll close so many more deals, and you don't need to rely on crazy offers, crazy guarantees, all these types of things, because your skill set is going to be there. And now this is really going to lead to the last piece, is you need to learn, first of all, the skills of marketing, okay? And you also need to learn the skills of lead generation. So I know so many agency owners who don't know how to get appointments on their calendar. Okay, you need to learn the skills of marketing and lead gen. Now, the reason that these are so important is you need to learn how to get appointments on your calendar, because ultimately, if you're selling that to your customers, people pay for the end outcome. People don't pay for, the potential of an end outcome. They want the end outcome. So if they buy medicine and the medicine doesn't work, they're going to buy a different medicine. So you want to think about how well does your product and how well does your own product, does your own systems for your own company getting leads work? Because the more that your process works for your own company, then you're going to be able to provide a better service for your clients, because you have a really full understanding of lead gen. So basically, you need to learn the skills of marketing and lead gen, okay? And remember this, people buy the outcome, they don't buy the tablet, okay? So people buy tablets not because people love tablets, they love putting them in their mouth. No, they don't. They want the outcome that the tablet can provide. So that's a really good metaphor, because like people don't want the tablet, people want the solution of the tablet, and that's more health, okay? Really, really important. And so learning lead gen, let's go through a little bit of a crash course on lead gen. The first thing with lead gen is there's really only 4 pieces to lead gen. The first thing is volume. Now, if you know Alex Hormozi, he's a big proponent of having enough volume coming through to actually get the result you want. So it doesn't matter what channel you're using, whether it's cold calls, cold email, ads. If you literally don't have the required volume to get the outcome that you want, you're not going to get there. So part of it is volume, okay? So yeah, it's basically, you need to have enough volume to even warrant. Like if you do 1 cold call a day, you're literally not going to get a client for a whole year, okay? So if you do 10 cold calls a day, you'll probably get a client a month. If you do 100 cold calls a day, you'll probably get a client a week. If you do 1,000 cold calls a day, you probably get a client every day, right? And so the volume matters. Okay, now next to volume is the offer or message, okay? So the offer or message is the script or the message that you actually use in the method. So if you're doing a cold email, it's the message that you do in the cold email. So say you send 1,000 cold emails, which is the volume, right? And then you have the offer in the message in the cold email. That's going to dictate how many emails that you need to send, because if your offer and your message is highly targeted, then the response rate is going to be higher, but the volume is going to be necessarily lower because you can't send super targeted emails that are good quality at volume. So that's going to change the dynamic. Now, the next thing is the channel. What kind of channel are you using to actually get, customers, right? So it could be, that's right. It could be Facebook ads. It could be cold calls. It could be emails, all right, whatever. Which channel are you using to get customers on? And then the last thing, which is here, is volume, offer, channel, and then deliverability. Okay. Volume, offer, channel, deliverability. So if your deliverability is not good on email or cold calls, then it's you're just not going to get there. So it's really important that you get these components right. And then really, once you figure out which channel works best, Facebook ads work well. We need to spend, $50 a day on Facebook ads. This offer works well, and then the deliverability on Facebook ads is a non-issue. Then you can kind of just run it, okay? So that's kind of how lead gen works. Well, guys, they're really the three key pieces that solves getting to 10K per month. You need to have personal effectiveness. You need to know how to close the deal. And lastly, you need to learn how to do lead gen as well. Now, if you guys need help with anything, we have spots in our agency incubator program where we help you get to your next 10 to 15 clients guaranteed. We fund your first ad campaign and a whole bunch of other stuff in there. If you're interested, click the link below or DM me on Instagram. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.